Hello guys and welcome to this video. Now, pretty exciting day today as I'll be sharing with you not only one but two Tudor watches that I own. I'm very excited to get my hands on this one as well. You will have seen it from the title of the video. It is of course the Tudor Harrods edition, the Black Bay Harrods. But there is one other Tudor which I've not shown you yet, and I've actually had for just over a year I think now, and that is this. This is the original Tudor Black Bay 41mm with the black bezel. Now this is the more modern version. If you were to go to the Tudor store now, and you can still buy this model, this is the thicker, newer version with the in-house Tudor movement. Now, the purpose of this video is obviously to tell you a bit about both watches, but I'm sure if you're a fan of Tudor, if you're a fan of watches, you probably already know all the specs and everything. But I wanted to show you my take on it as well, because there might be some little details in this video that some other reviewers or some other channels you've viewed before haven't really considered. And I've worn this watch quite regularly for over a year now, and I've just got the Harrods, and actually I'm only going to keep one of them. So keep watching to find out how that goes. Now, starting with the Black Bay Black, as I call it, although there is an actual black case, black strap version of the Black Bay now as well. This was always on my want list right from the beginning. When I originally got much more into watches, this must have been about 3 or 5 years ago. I did hear of Tudor, but it wasn't until I really started following popular channels on watches, reading a lot of reviews, and actually going to the boutiques and feeling them myself before I really loved the Black Bay specifically. Now, first of all, I've got quite big wrists. So when I was looking for a dive watch, it had to be a larger size one. The one thing that a lot of people say about the Black Bay, the 41mm like this, is that it is too big and it is too thick for most people. I am not most people. I've got very large wrists, about 7 3/4 inches, quite sort of oval shaped, but chunky wrists. And I really love how this feels on my wrist. If anything, it might even be a bit small for me, but I'll let you be the judge of that, as I'll show you some wrist shots as well. So how did I actually get this watch? Now, this watch is around 2 years old. I got it last year, and I actually got this as a private sale or private trade. In fact, a client of mine who was after a Seiko mod had this watch, and he wasn't really getting on with it, and I wanted it. So I did him a special deal. I gave him a Seiko mod that of course you guys will have seen on my channel. I make Seiko mods here in Dubai. I made him a watch, and I also paid him some cash to get this at what I thought was a great price, somewhere in the region of $2,000. And I'm pretty sure that is still a very good price. But either way, this watch wasn't perfect. It has some scratches here where the bracelet's obviously been removed the wrong way. The bracelet is pretty beat up, and most of this was how it looked when I got it. So I knew it wasn't perfect, and that's possibly why as well I could get it for such a good price. But there is something in that. When you buy a used watch that's already been sort of worn in, you're less worried about it. So this watch is the one I pick up whenever I'm doing almost anything. If I know I'm going to go out, I know I might need to lift some boxes to the car or do some shopping or something like that, where my cuff might hit something, I am really not worried about this watch. So I'm not going to say it's a beater watch, because it definitely isn't. I wouldn't play sport with this or play golf or something. But if I found myself doing something quite active or being a bit more rough with this, like I would wear this one to work and actually use it in the workshop when I'm doing practical things as well. It is a tool to me, this watch, and that is mainly because, though it's a valuable piece, it has already had a bit of breaking in. It's already got scratches. It's already not perfect, and I got it for a good price. And I know if I ever wanted to sell it, I could probably still get my money out of it even further down the line with even more scratches. One thing I did notice is one thing that worried me about Black Bays was the bezel insert is aluminium. I've learned since actually owning one that there is a reason for it. First of all, of course, it's got that sort of vintage aesthetic. It's got that sort of slightly matte effect. But the interesting thing Tudor did here, and I believe this was actually the reason they stuck with aluminium, is that coin edge bezel is super thin. It is very thin. Now, having built watches with ceramic bezels, I know that ceramic bezels have to be pretty thick for them to actually be strong enough. If this was ceramic, this would crack almost instantly. So that is probably why they wanted to use that, and that essentially keeps the whole thickness of the watch down. But they've also been quite smart, and this side of it is actually ridged a bit, so that kind of protects it from anything hitting it. And the crystal is like a top hat, vintage style crystal. So actually, if you were to brush anything over the watch, you're probably not even going to hit the aluminium. Now, for sure, I know I will have hit that bezel at some point. Okay, I've not been super careful with this one, and it looks perfect. So this just goes to show not all bezels are created equal. Just because a watch has an aluminium bezel shouldn't really be a problem. These actually could take a really good beating. So on the camera now, it actually looks really good. I can tell you when we see this one, you'll be able to compare the difference between a well-used Tudor and a new one. Now, what else have I noticed? Well, first of all, let's put it on my wrist so I can sort of demonstrate this. As I drive, of course, as well, and as I drive, I often look at my watch because I'm holding the steering wheel like this, and at this angle, you can really see that kind of extreme crystal, that sort of dome. Well, it's a top hat crystal that sticks out, and I love that profile of this watch. A lot of people also complain about these rivets on the bracelet. I think they are great. I like that they're there. It definitely gives it that sort of more vintage sort of style. And I'll come back to that vintage style later in terms of the colors here compared to the new one, the Harrods. I also really like the red pip. Okay, and one of the things that I believe Tudor do better than any other brand I've ever actually touched is the bezel action. So let's listen to this. It's just gorgeous. It's the perfect sort of weighting, but there's also one little trick, and this is a good way to spot a fake one as well. When it gets to 12, it actually has a deeper kind of recess. So it's slightly harder to push it away from 12, which means you can actually set this bezel without looking at it. I've not seen that in any other watch before, but I could play with that bezel all day. I'm a freak when it comes to great bezel actions, and Tudor does it the best. I'm sorry, I know it's 60 click, but I actually prefer that, because if I want to count 10 minutes, I can actually count it without guessing. And also that little feature where this lines up perfectly and it sort of stays put, you need to push it just that little bit harder to get it away from 12. Is a really nice effect. Some people refer to that as a different sound, but I actually think it's to do with how it works underneath. There'll be grooves all the way around, and the 12 groove is just slightly deeper, so it's harder to get it out. Get it's either a ball on a spring or perhaps an actual spring in there has to manually jump across. So those were the key sort of things I wanted to share about this watch. Of course, you guys know the dimensions. It's 41. It's got a great in-house movement. This has actually got now a 5-year warranty. Originally, it was only offered, I think, with a 2 or a 3 year. This watch is right in the middle of when they changed that. So actually, Tudor will apply a warranty extension of 18 months on watches like this. So it's still got that original warranty. The dial is beautiful, the hands, lovely finish in gold there. And another thing I wasn't sure about, which is something they did on the Black Bay 58, is actually having the gilt dial, the gold marker surrounds, the gold hands on the dial, but then have the bezel with the silver text. In the Black Bay 58, that is also gold. And I actually prefer this one more. I think this one looks more tooly, a little bit more vintage, and this one actually looks more like one of the vintage Rolex divers it's based off. Now on the back of the watch, I've still actually got the sticker. I forgot about that. Completely plain movement. You've got various serial numbers for the case and everything there. Annoyingly, the previous owner did incorrectly remove this bracelet, so it has got some nasty scratches here. Servicing, now I haven't serviced this, I'm not planning to service it anytime soon. However, it has been back to Tudor for a problem, and it's happened again. On these crowns, they have this black paint filled crowns, this enameling. I don't know what kind of paint or whatever they use, but somehow before I had many more of these black parts actually missing when I first got the watch, and over time they seem to drop out. Now, I know I said I don't beat on it, but I do, you know, day-to-day tasks with it. I'm not especially precious about this watch, but I found that very odd. And then I sent it back to Tudor. They replaced the crown free of charge here in Dubai in about 4 weeks or something. It was perfectly smooth operation. I was quite happy with it. And about 6 months later, it's happened again. So now I'm just going to leave it and wait until the last month of my warranty and just do it then, because I honestly don't trust these crowns. If you've got a Tudor Black Bay with this kind of crown, I know they have a different crown on a GMT, for example, and maybe some of the others, but if you have this kind of crown, please let me know if you've also got this problem. Now, to me, it matters because it should be there, so, you know, it bothers me. I know it probably doesn't bother some people. So yeah, that's the only thing that I'm a bit annoyed about. I'm having to change the crown already twice in my relatively short year with this watch. But I'm very happy I got it. And soon, just before actually, I ended up buying this one. I did put my name down for what's in this box. Now that was a process in itself. You guys will have probably seen the Black Bay Harrods before. But Harrods, if you're not sure what it is a department store in London, quite a fancy store in Knightsbridge, I believe. And they do have some limited edition pieces, fashion, whatever. And in this case, Tudor actually have a special edition watch linked to Harrods, and it is only available in Harrods in London. You cannot buy it anywhere else from Tudor themselves. And the box and everything is the same. So I've got the same box for the black one as well. So I'll show you around the box just briefly. You've got the watch, of course, itself. Underneath, we've got the warranty cards and all of that. And in this little pouch, because this is a special edition, they don't do this anymore for most of the watches, but you do actually get the black Tudor Nato with some spring bars in it as well. That is not going to end up on this watch because I don't really like the NATOs on these, but it's nice to have, of course, the original Tudor Nato. Even this is worth something on its own because a lot of people do like them. Really nice quality, but not something I would use, but it's nice to have it at least there. Now, let's have a look at the Black Bay Harrods. Okay, so this one, firstly, how do you get this? Well, you have to email Harrods in London and say you would like one. Then you've got to wait maybe a year until they call you up. Well, in fact, they email you. So I got that email in 2021, and it was a very inconvenient time for me to actually go to London. They cannot post this to you worldwide. I live in Dubai. I had to physically go to London to get it. However, they do allow you to name somebody to come and collect it on your behalf. They're also going to have to pay for it, and then it's up to you how you get it and what you do after that. So fortunately, one of my friends was actually in London at the time. So I asked him, I wired him the money, and I asked him to go and buy it for me. He's into watches too, so it was really no bother for him. And then just recently, when I was able to finally travel to the UK without quarantines and stuff, I got my Tudor Harrods. But that's not quite the end of the story. So I'm gonna show you around the watch first and then tell you what's gonna happen next. Now, the difference is, it's probably the best comparison you can do is just to put them side by side. The dial is different. Well, let's start with the similarities. The bracelet's the same, the case is the same, the crown, annoyingly, is the same. So no doubt those little black bits are gonna fall out at some point. The bezel is the same, however, the insert is of course green on the Tudor one. And then in the dial, we've got a different dial. You can try and see them here. Let me try and get the angles right. So if you have a look the first line of text is actually in a different arrangement. So this one says 200 meters and then space 660 foot. This one is 660 feet, the space 200 meters, and it's in green. The other dial printing is just about the same. It seems to be somewhat bolder on the Harrods, like the Swiss made at the bottom, just seems to be a bit more visible on this green one compared to the black one there. This is a genuine watch, of course, as well. Both of them are 100% genuine, so I guess they make the dials slightly differently, or perhaps it's just a newer model. The second hand also has that little green tip. And there is another difference as well, and that's on the back of the watch, which I'll show you in a minute. Now, also, I kind of forgot about this on the green one, but it doesn't have that red traditional sort of triangle marker at the top of the bezel. Something I did actually miss from this one when I tried it on. So let's show you it on my wrist for a minute. So you can see this is what a brand new bracelet looks like. This watch is unworn. I have worn it just to try it on essentially, but it is in beautiful condition. Sorry, I've got quite warm hands and there's a bit of condensation on it because it's cold. Lovely clasp. Really nice quality bracelets, guys. If you haven't handled a Tudor, I think you're going to be very impressed if you do. So highly recommend this brand. I love Tudor. I think, you know, for an available watch which isn't as crazy expensive as Rolex and is still part of Rolex essentially, it's the perfect watch. You know, it goes a bit under the radar, looks great, runs great, you know, it does everything. So for sure, they can see why these are so popular with enthusiasts. And this one for me was always the #1 Black Bay to get. If you could get any of them, this is the one, because this is the only one that actually increases in value once you buy it. So this one, they both actually retail for the same price, £2,800 or so. This one is actually worth closer to £3,800 though. So you've got an idea of the difference, and that's purely because you can't just go to your local store and buy the green bezel Harrods one. You've got to go to Harrods, you've got to wait almost a year for it. So on the secondary market, of course, this one is far more valuable. It's almost double, in fact it is double the price of the black one, even though a lot of the parts are so much the same, the movement's the same, the warranty's the same, and so on. Now on my wrist, because I'm a bigger guy, the Tudor Black Bay was a good size for me. But this one, the green bezel, does appear a bit lighter, of course, compared to the black. If I just put the black one there. A bit hard to show you on camera because the camera does distort things as well. But when I first saw this green watch, I was in love with it. I thought, great, it looks so special, looks so interesting, so different. I've not seen one on anyone's wrist before, and now I've got it. Very excited about it. Also, the green is so kind of pale that sometimes it actually looks grey. So I really like that effect. It definitely looks like a classier watch than the standard black, which definitely looks more like a tool watch. And for me, actually, because of that colored bezel, and I found this with also the red bezel and the blue bezel option and the steel bezel option, it makes the watch look a little bit smaller on my wrist than the black one. And because this was already on the limit of being too small, I think it is just that little bit too small for me. The other thing I've learned with this watch is it is a bit too nice for me as well. Now, you will have seen all the scratches on my black one, and that is something, you know, I'm quite proud to say I wear this watch properly. Could I wear the Harrods properly and get those scratches all over it and not really worry about it? I don't think I could, because I'd be forever worried about the resale value of this. Because truly that is, if I'm really honest, that was the main thing that attracted me to it. It's a watch that I couldn't easily get. So I enjoyed the chase of this watch kind of more than actually in person. Now, this might have helped if I'd have seen this in person in the store, but of course I emailed them. I've just seen pictures and videos online. So had I been in the store, I might have decided, you know what, it's nice, but I'm going to keep the black one. Having had to travel to London, have to enlist my friend to help me, wiring money and so on and so on. The reward is worth it, but I think because I can only justify keeping one Tudor, I'm going to keep the black bezel, because this is actually also quite hard to find, it seems, on the secondary market in a decent condition. People tend to keep hold of these, and for good reason. They're very trusty, solid, simple design watches, and they're great quality too. The green bezel is a special occasion watch for me. I would be too worried about damaging it, and that is not really the reason I need it. So I will be selling this one. Of course, I'm going to sell it for the market rate to claw back some of that travel cost and so on I've incurred. But I did want to share both with you, just perhaps to show you another take on these watches. If it was a useful lesson to me, is not to chase that hyped up watch, because it might not really be for you. Enjoy the watch that is for you. And for me, it's this trusty black dial, black bezel Tudor that's got the scratches on it, and I really don't worry about wearing this one anywhere. This one I would certainly worry about every time I put it on. I love the design of it, I love the color, but like I said, it's just a bit too nice for me. The green one is double the price of the black one. I'm not totally sure that price increase is also worth me babying it for. So there you have it, guys. It's not really a review, it's just my take on some limited edition watches, and my experience of chasing one and then being very happy with it, but then realizing, you know, what am I actually doing here? Am I buying this watch because I can't, because it's hard to buy, or am I buying it because I really want it? And I thought I really wanted it, but seeing it in person compared to my black one, this actually wears a bit bigger, so it's more comfortable for me to wear every day, so I'm going to keep the black one. But this is a beautiful, beautiful watch, and I'm sure the new owner of this, whoever he is going to be very happy. Now, of course, if you're interested in this watch, please leave me a comment. I will price it fairly, in line with the market now, and I will get in touch with you. There's a strong chance it will have sold already though, so let me know. If you like my take on this, if you enjoyed this video, if you want to check out a few others, please hit subscribe, hit like, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.